7 hidden signs you're dating a woman who can't build real love. Greeting, hook, and promise. Hello and welcome. Before we begin, if you value honest, psychology-based breakdowns that challenge comforting illusions, consider subscribing so you never miss a chapter like this. It takes you one click, but it tells the algorithm to show this message to more people who need it. Thank you for being here. There is a harsh truth few will ever say to your face. A woman's past is not a random scrapbook of memories. It is a chain of psychological imprints that shape her present and your potential future. Carl Jung wrote about the persona, the mask we show to the world, and the shadow, the hidden storehouse of repressed wounds and learned defenses. When intimate experiences pile up without healing, the mask becomes polished, but the shadow hardens. What looks like confidence can be camouflage. What feels like freedom can be the residue of pain. This video is not about judging anyone. It is about diagnosis, so you do not become a patient inside someone else's drama. Today we will walk through 7 hidden signs that a woman's intimate history has become too extensive and disorganized to build something real with. The 7th sign will not be a metaphor. It will be practical, verifiable proof that can save you years of your life. Stay with me, listen carefully, and measure these signs against facts rather than hope. Psychological framework. Understanding the mask and the shadow. Before we step into the signs themselves, we need to understand the silent battlefield inside every human being, the mask and the shadow. Jung said that every person carries a persona, a face they show to the world. It is how we wish to be seen, admired, and accepted, but behind that mask lives the shadow, the darker half of the psyche. Holding all the unprocessed emotions, the suppressed shame, and the painful memories we pretend to forget. When someone has gone through too many emotional collisions, relationships that start fast and end in betrayal, short-lived intimacy without depth, repeated disappointment, the shadow doesn't just hold pain, it begins to shape behavior. The person becomes skillful at surviving, but less capable of connecting. She learns the art of adaptation, not the art of trust. From the outside, she may appear open, free, confident, even seductive. She will talk about love as if it's just another adventure. But inside, something has fractured. Her psyche has built defensive walls, turning closeness into a performance rather than a bond. And because modern culture celebrates freedom without responsibility, this shadow behavior often hides in plain sight. Psychology teaches that no experience, especially in intimacy, is ever neutral. Every connection leaves an imprint, either of security or of fear. And when a person's life becomes a long chain of unfinished stories, the imprints pile up like layers of scar tissue. So when you meet someone who seems perfect on the surface, pay attention not to how polished she looks, but to what her history quietly reveals. Every past connection either strengthened her capacity for love or eroded it. By learning to read these signs, you aren't judging her, you're protecting your own emotional future. Sign 1. The illusion of intimacy. This is the trap that almost every man falls into. It looks like openness, it feels like connection, but it's not. At first, she seems confident and liberated. She talks about intimacy with striking ease. Her words flow, her jokes are casual, her body language relaxed. You think, here is a modern woman, someone unafraid of her desires, someone comfortable in her skin. You tell yourself she's emotionally mature, maybe even special. But this confidence is often a disguise. True confidence in intimacy comes with natural hesitation, a quiet respect for what connection means. A healthy psyche protects vulnerability. It slows down before it opens up. That brief awkwardness, the small nervous smile, the moment of uncertainty, those are signs of emotional depth, of sacred boundaries still intact. When a woman has lost that sense of sacredness, she doesn't blush anymore. She doesn't hesitate. She treats intimacy like a routine, something that happens too easily, too fast, without meaning. The mystery is gone, and so is the reverence. You'll feel it in subtle ways. Her timing, her words, her gestures, they seem rehearsed. There's a script behind her spontaneity. She knows what to say, how to touch, when to move closer, but it doesn't feel real. It feels practiced, like an actor repeating a role she's played too many times before. And here's the paradox. Men often mistake this smoothness for connection. They think, she's so comfortable with me. But comfort isn't always a good sign. Sometimes, it's a sign that she's been here too many times before. Her ease doesn't come from trust, it comes from detachment. Her boundaries have been crossed so often that they no longer exist. What should be intimate has become mechanical. The act that should create closeness now functions like a reflex. And when something sacred turns into routine, it loses its power to bond. That's the illusion of intimacy, a performance that looks like openness but hides emotional emptiness. Sign 2. The glass wall of emotional isolation. If the first sign is about her external behavior, this one is about what you cannot reach, the inner fortress she's built. She can laugh with you, share stories, and even seem emotionally available. But there's a part of her you will never touch. It's as if you're separated by invisible glass. You can see her clearly, but you can't feel her warmth. This isn't shyness. It's not a wall that time or patience can break. It's a defense mechanism, carved out by years of disappointment. Each failed relationship taught her that real vulnerability leads to pain. So she trained herself to stay in control. You'll notice how conversations never go deep. When you talk about emotions, she smiles but stays vague. When you reveal something personal, she listens politely, then changes the subject. If you ask about her fears or her past, she gives you an answer that sounds right, but feels hollow. It's a perfectly constructed response, polished and safe. Even in moments that should be emotional, she seems distant. Her reactions are appropriate but not authentic. You'll sense it in your gut. She's performing closeness without ever truly letting you in. And during conflict, this wall becomes unbreakable. Instead of facing a problem together, she either shuts down into silence or explodes and walks away. Her emotional instinct is not to repair, but to escape, because in her mind, attachment equals danger, intimacy means exposure, and exposure means pain. So she protects herself the only way she knows, by never fully opening her heart again. You end up feeling like you're in a relationship with a ghost. Someone present in body but absent in soul. You can't connect through that glass wall because it was built for survival, not for love. Sign 3. The orbit of attention. This sign is subtle, but once you recognize it, you'll never unsee it. It's the way she builds a small universe around herself, full of male attention that never truly ends. Her phone vibrates constantly. Her social media feeds are alive with comments, messages, and reactions, most of them from men. When you ask who they are, she smiles lightly. Just friends, she says, but deep down, you know that's not the full truth. These men are not simply friends. They are admirers, former lovers, potential replacements, orbiting her like satellites around a planet. And she is the sun at the center, feeding on their attention. This is not always conscious manipulation. Often, it's a deep psychological need. Her self-worth has become tied to being desired. Each notification, each message, each compliment serves as a small hit of validation, a reminder that she's still wanted, still seen, still powerful. It doesn't matter if she's in a relationship. She'll keep these channels open because they make her feel secure. In her mind, this is normal. I'm just friendly, she'll say, but the truth is more complex. She cannot stand emotional silence. When one man's attention fades, she unconsciously reaches for another's to fill the void. It's like oxygen to her, she needs it to breathe. And this creates an invisible but deadly tension in any relationship with her. You will always feel like you're competing with ghosts. She might never cheat physically, but emotionally, she's always surrounded, always being watched, validated, admired. It's not just about trust. It's about focus. A person scattered across dozens of emotional connections can't fully invest in one. She doesn't mean to betray you. She just doesn't know how to exist without that orbit. You'll notice how easily she justifies it, how confidently she claims it's harmless. But for you, it's not harmless. It's exhausting, because deep down, you'll feel that you're never truly enough, and that's exactly how the orbit keeps spinning. Sign 4. When intimacy becomes currency. Now we move to a darker layer of the pattern, one that changes the entire meaning of closeness. For her, intimacy is no longer an expression of affection. It has become a form of currency, a transaction, a silent negotiation between desire and control. At some point, she discovered that physical closeness gives her power. Maybe it started innocently, realizing that affection could calm anger, that charm could diffuse conflict. But over time, this became a strategy. She learned that a well-timed touch could shift a man's emotions faster than any argument. That withdrawal could hurt more than words. So now, intimacy is no longer spontaneous. It's tactical. When she's upset, she withholds affection, not out of sadness, but to make you chase. When she needs something, she turns warm, tender, seductive, because she knows exactly what will open your defenses. It feels natural to you. But if you look closely, you'll see the pattern. Every act of closeness happens at a perfectly convenient moment. This is not intuition, it's experience. Years of trial and error have taught her that love can be leveraged like a tool. That desire is a means of influence. What once connected her to others now keeps them under her control. But the cost is enormous. Once intimacy becomes a weapon, it can never again be pure. Every kiss carries suspicion. Every embrace feels slightly staged. You begin to wonder, is this real, or is this another move in the game? And the tragedy is, she may not even realize she's doing it. To her, it feels natural, because manipulation has replaced connection so gradually that she can no longer tell the difference. This is the moment when a relationship stops being mutual and becomes psychological warfare. You stop feeling loved, you start feeling managed. Sign 5. The surgeon of the male soul. If using intimacy as currency is a crude tool, this next level is surgical precision. It's where experience turns into mastery, the art of emotional manipulation so refined that it feels like love. She has studied men, not through books, but through repetition. Each past relationship has been a laboratory, and she has learned every pattern, every weakness, every emotional trigger. She knows how to say the exact words that awaken a man's pride, his desire to protect, his hunger to feel special. At first, it feels extraordinary. You've never felt so seen, so understood. She looks at you with admiration that pierces straight to your soul. She tells you you're different from other men, that she believes in your vision, that you have what others don't. Her words strike perfectly, like a musician playing the right note every time. But it's too perfect, too precise. This isn't the messy warmth of real admiration. It's a performance, designed to build dependence, because once you're emotionally invested, she shifts the tone. The same mouth that once whispered, "You're fearless," now murmurs, "Sometimes, I feel like you're afraid to take real risks." In a moment, you're unsteady. You start to doubt yourself. You try harder to prove your worth, to win back her approval. And that's exactly how the cycle works. Build up, tear down, reward, withdraw. It keeps you off balance and addicted. She doesn't need to control you directly. She controls how you feel about yourself. And that is far more powerful. This level of emotional manipulation is terrifying because it mimics love perfectly. She mirrors your dreams, your fears, your inner language, but her goal isn't connection, it's control. Like a skilled surgeon, she knows where to cut and how deep. She can extract your vulnerability without ever exposing her own. To you, it feels like intimacy. To her, it's precision. You'll find yourself thinking about her constantly, analyzing every word she says, trying to decode what went wrong, not realizing that's exactly what keeps you trapped. You're not in a relationship anymore. You're inside a psychological experiment. Sign 6. Pride instead of regret. This sign separates those who can still heal from those who can't. It's not about mistakes. Everyone has a past. It's about how they carry it. A woman who has faced her past with honesty will speak of it softly. There's a trace of humility, a quiet understanding that some experiences shouldn't be repeated. But when pride replaces that humility, when she wears her past like a badge of honor, something inside her has broken. You'll hear it in the way she talks about her previous relationships, as if they were adventures, achievements, or trophies. She might even say, "I don't regret anything. Every experience made me stronger." It sounds empowering, but look closer. There's no reflection, no grief, no acknowledgement of the damage those choices left behind. Psychology calls this reaction formation, when someone hides deep shame by showing exaggerated pride. Instead of facing her inner discomfort, she overcompensates. She laughs too easily about things that once hurt. She dismisses accountability as old-fashioned or patriarchal. Try to question it, and she will turn the focus back on you. Why are you judging me? Are you insecure? Are you afraid of a strong woman? In that moment, she disarms you with ideology. She uses the language of empowerment as a shield to protect her ego from introspection. But the truth is simple. If someone has lived through chaos without ever feeling regret, It means they never stopped to learn. They only survived. And survival without reflection doesn't build strength, it builds armor. The irony is tragic. The very pride she believes proves her independence is actually proof of unhealed pain. Because true freedom doesn't need to be defended. It's quiet, it's calm, it's humble. In relationships, this pride creates a chasm. You value exclusivity, loyalty, and depth. She values experience, experimentation, and validation. You're trying to build a castle of stone. She's still living in a house of cards. And no matter how much love or effort you invest, you can't build permanence on pride. Because pride can't nurture, it can only protect. Sign 7. The relationship conveyor belt. This is the final and most undeniable sign. It's not a matter of opinion or interpretation. It's a pattern written in her own history, one that tells you everything you need to know. Look closely at her past. The sequence is almost always the same, a series of short, intense relationships that burn brightly and then collapse. Faces change, places change, stories change, but the ending never does. There's always passion, chaos, then distance, and a new beginning waiting just around the corner. She'll describe these relationships as learning experiences, wrong timing, or mutual decisions, but the truth is colder. Her emotional system has become addicted to novelty, to the high of the chase, the excitement of the unknown, the dopamine rush that comes with being desired. When a relationship settles into stability, when it requires patience, compromise, and effort, she starts to feel restless. What others call peace, she feels as boredom. What you see as loyalty, she interprets as confinement. Her instinct is not to build, but to restart, not to repair, but to replace. This is called novelty seeking, a psychological condition where the brain mistakes emotional chaos for excitement. And it's why she always moves on so easily. Because deep down, she's not chasing love, she's chasing the feeling of being wanted, again and again. Ask about her longest relationship, and you'll notice the pattern. Few last beyond a year or two. The honeymoon phase fades, the flaws appear, and she begins to withdraw. Then comes the familiar line, "We're just too different." But in truth, it's not difference, it's fatigue. She's emotionally incapable of the slow, patient work that real connection requires. To her, every new partner feels like a new beginning, but it's the same story rewritten. And every man becomes just another character in the same unfinished book. It's not about morality, it's about emotional sustainability. You can't build a future with someone who lives for beginnings. Conclusion: integrating the shadow. Recognizing these 7 signs isn't about judgment. It's about awareness, both of others and of yourself. Because the more you understand someone's shadow, the more you must confront your own. Carl Jung believed that the goal of life is not perfection, but integration, to face the darkness within us, acknowledge it, and bring it into light. Every person you meet becomes a mirror, reflecting something hidden in you. So before rushing to save or condemn anyone, ask the harder question: why was I drawn to her in the first place? Sometimes, the chaos we see in others feels familiar because it matches something unresolved inside ourselves. Maybe you were attracted to her brokenness because it mirrored your own, because part of you hoped that if you could heal her, you could also heal yourself. Maybe her emotional volatility felt like home, not because it was right, but because it was known. This is the paradox of human attraction. We don't choose what's good for us. We choose what feels familiar, until we finally learn to break the pattern. A man who understands his own wounds no longer mistakes drama for passion. He no longer confuses comfort with connection or pity with love. He becomes selective, grounded, calm, and from that calm, he can finally see clearly who stands before him. You don't need to hate her, fix her, or change her. You only need to recognize what is. Experience changes people. Repeated chaos changes them even more. If her past is filled with emotional wreckage, it's not your role to rebuild what she destroyed in others. Choose a woman who values depth over novelty, who protects intimacy instead of performing it, who sees love as sacred, not as strategy. Because the person you choose will determine your peace of mind, your stability, and even your legacy. In business, you would never invest everything into a company with a record of repeated failures. So why do that with your heart? You deserve a partner who has learned, not just lived, someone whose past taught her to cherish, not to manipulate, someone who has integrated her shadow and invites you to do the same. Before you go, pause for a moment and answer this truthfully. When you meet chaos disguised as passion, what do you feel first? The urge to save? Or the instinct to run? That first feeling is your intuition speaking. Listen to it. It's trying to protect you. If this message spoke to you, consider subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it helps this channel reach more people who are still searching for clarity in love and psychology. Thank you for staying until the end.